This is something that has bothered me for a while now, but I've never really talked about it. If you're a former elder or a couple that used to serve, maybe like a former Bethelite couple, or you were the elderette, he was the presiding overseer or Kobe or whatever. You guys had like a high position in the congregation. Elder and his wife, decades of experience, serious JW resume. First of all, I always appreciate when anybody, drops a line to say like, hey, I'm out, I was in for 50, 60, 70 years or whatever, and I'm finally out. I think that's great. So when I hear from people like this, former elders and their wives, who finally got out, hallelujah, awesome. Holy crap. That's a very bold move. So yeah, awesome. And also I want to note, I've met cool former elders who, we had great conversations. They offered great insights to the audience. People who were never witnesses are like, oh, so that's how that works, So former elders really can offer some valuable insights because of the position that you served in. Yeah, a lot of elders abuse their power, but there's good former elders who are like, yeah, I woke up, I'm out of the BS. With that said, I basically get like 3 types of elders I should say former elders, who reach out to me, with one in particular that I want to address specifically. So basically, like the first type of former elder that reaches out to me is the least frequent. Just like, some cool former elders like, hey, I'm out finally. It's like, cool, man, nice to meet you. Glad you're doing well. All right, the second type of former elder who reaches out, the dude sends me like an essay. I don't read your email. I look at the last sentence, and without fail, there's always a demand that I write you back. Go yourself. This entitlement is just bizarre. We're not in the cult anymore. I'm not subjected to listen to you. We don't have to hold hands and be best friends. We don't have to agree on everything. Go pay a therapist, weirdo. So anyways, the final type of elder, former elder that reaches out to me that I wanted to make this video for, that I'm specifically addressing in this video, is the type of elder who left. And somewhere along the way in the conversation, if we end up meeting, it doesn't happen all the time, but I can count on one hand. It's been at least 3 times now, and to me, that's high enough. Again, I'm happy you guys are out, but you admit to me somewhere in the conversation that you used to disfellowship people. You admit to me that you've sat on several committees over the course of your theocratic career. You've expressed to me, in our call, or when we're meeting each other, possibly you wanted to tell your story on Stop the Shunning. So basically what I'm trying to say is, if this describes you, if you were considering reaching out, or maybe you have and we've already met, maybe have a little self-awareness. I'm not going to be like, you're a horrible person, you're beyond redemption or whatever. Like, that's not the energy I'm coming at you with. Read the room. Stop the shunning. Like, hey, Beth, hey. And you send me an email, hey, man. I mean, come on, dude. You served in the highest position possible in the congregation for years. And you admit to me that you've cut people off from their families. Like, you engaged in the shunning process. Hey, man, cool, you're out. Awesome. And you disfellowshipped a bunch of people. You might want to tell your story, maybe not. I don't know. I mean, but dude, what have you... Again, I'm not coming from this angle of just, perpetual self-flagellation that you should beat yourself up forever. But again, just a little self-awareness. What have you done to, for me to give you a platform to speak? You're like, woo, life is great on the other side. Tell that to the, 19-year-old you disfellowshipped, who was then homeless or kicked out of his family home. The 22-year-old single mother who you DF'd and was left to fend for herself. Everybody treated her like shit in the congregation. I know some idiot out there in the comments is going to be like, well, disfellowshipping and shunning is scriptural. And defend it. Why are you here? You're so stupid. You're not supposed to be here, right? And for anybody who doesn't understand who I'm talking about, these are called pomies. These people are physically out, mentally in. So they're still mentally tethered. They're still brainwashed, but they're floating around YouTube and on the internet because they have a guilty conscience and they feel like they can win points with Jehovah and with God by writing dumb shit. But my point is, I understand that maybe at the time you thought it was the right thing to do, but now you're a different man. You woke up. Cool. Go live your life. But like, don't reach out to me and like bullshit me. Have you tried to find these people, reach out to these people, find these people, and like make any sort of amends or apologize for the trauma you inflicted, isolating someone from all channels of support, not speaking to your family members and not being able to hear their voice for years? That is traumatizing. Your family is alive, but they're dead, or you're dead to them. How long you allow your trauma to define you and you just stay in a perpetual state of victimhood. You're a perpetual victim for the rest of your life and you can't change anything or better your situation at all. That's where I tune out. But you do want to recognize that this is a traumatic thing that happened with the shunning and getting kicked out of the organization. So, you were a part of that. These former elders, you were a part of that. Here's the deal. If you're not, I'm going into depth a little bit more for people who might not know the shunning culture of the Jehovah's Witnesses. Maybe you're tuning in for the first time. There's a lot of people who get disfellowshipped, and I have mad respect for them. They get disfellowshipped, and all these things happen to them. They have every right to be pissed. They have every right to, hate the organization or whatever, but it actually backfires. Oh, they don't end up going back to the organization. They don't let that elder ruin their life. They pick themselves up. They're super resilient. They go on to lead happy, healthy, productive lives. They refuse to be a victim. I respect the hell out of that. They're not going to let that elder ruin their life or let their past define them. Mad respect. What are you doing to in any way rectify the situation or reconcile or mend fences or apologize to these people whose lives you upended? So what I'm saying is, maybe if you do reach out to them, they're going to be like, who? This clown? I want to talk to him. They're doing well. They don't need to talk to you. They don't need anything from you. But who knows? It might be immensely healing to someone to know that you've acknowledged what you did. You've taken some sort of responsibility and you at least went out of your way. Personally, that's the kind of story that I think would be incredibly helpful. Not, hey, I'm a former elder. I got out. We're doing great. And, now he wants to talk about how he's chilling on the other side. Just tone deaf. I don't know how you would execute this per se. Like I said, I don't know how you find these people or how you would approach it or whatever, but it's just something to think about. And I know somebody's going to be like, oh, this is so preachy. Or maybe you think it's preachy. I don't care.
Well, I have a microphone and you don't. So you will listen to every damn word I have to say!
Like I said, I've met a few of you who are like, oh man, I knew this boy in my congregation. It really broke me up to disfellowship him. He touched his girlfriend's boob. I hated to have to cut him off for 20 years. Really broke me up inside. Like I said, they might completely ignore you. I know some people watching this might be like, oh, I wouldn't pick up the phone. Cool. You have the right to. Because you've moved on or because whatever, despite the person. Fine. Maybe not. Maybe that viscerally does something to them. Like it's closure. They should be able to create closure for themselves. They can't wait around with bated breath for you to have a sudden attack of conscience and become a really good person. But maybe it really, closes a chapter in their life, heals them in a way that they never thought possible. I'm not trying to play moral arbiter. I'm just not the person to tell your story. It just feels off. In fact, I got someone here right now that's going to share their personal experience with all of this, with this situation that I'm talking about. Let's bring him on. Here he is, XJW Analyzer. Yeah, we're married. Some of you know that. Some of you don't. I know somebody out there is going to be like, how did he get from his chair? Anyways, allergies. So I'm talking about, former elders that have reached out to me who lack the self-awareness, who have disfellowshipped people, not one person, but have sat on multiple committees. And, might want to come on the channel, tell their story, which I'd be totally cool with if they understood the gravity of what they did to people and how they upended people's lives through the shunning policy and through the disfellowshipping process. Not like, oh, you're an evil, horrible person, but like, come on, man. You disfellowshipped people over the years. So I was thinking about the story with your father, what happened to your father, and, maybe telling the audience what happened there. Because it was a similar situation.
Yeah, sure, similar situation, but the outcome was rather different. So my mom was an alcoholic, and it I have to have compassion for her because she was abused by her father. Her sisters were too. Watchtower didn't encourage getting therapy or anything like that, especially back then. And so she never really got any help for it. She denied what happened. She turned to alcohol. It got bad. And the elders found out about it. My father was an elder at the time. And so she got dragged into a judicial committee. My dad refused to let them talk to her without him there. And he defended her because my dad, very compassionate man, thought that they should be kind to her given everything that she went through, and they were not. Now, of course, there were three elders, typical judicial committee. One of them was very young and brand new. It was his first judicial committee ever. Well, because my dad was defending her and trying to get them to be compassionate and reasonable, she got disfellowship, but so did he. Now, two of the three elders that did it eventually were removed, which
Tracks.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because the kind of people that were, you're bad if you're even too bad for Watchtower to keep you in a position, right? One of them was not. The youngest one was not. My dad was eventually reinstated. He was put back as an elder. They realized the mistake, whatever. The youngest elder called him years later, sobbing, to apologize for what he had done. And he didn't make excuses. I mean, he acknowledged where he said, I was young, I was a new elder, it was my first judicial committee. I felt like I had to go along with what everybody else did. But he made amends and he said, I was wrong to do it. I'm so sorry. He asked for my dad's forgiveness. And of course, my dad, being the kind of man that he was, of course he forgave him. I get it. You were young. It's not your fault. It's okay. So he let it go. But I always admired the fact that brother actually called to make amends because he realized that what he had done was wrong. And there was no consequences to him. It's not like anything bad was going to happen if he didn't call. He only called to apologize for the reason that he knew he had done something wrong and he wanted to try to make it right in the best way he could. And I've always respected that about him.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. I just think that's cool that he took the initiative, was thoughtful in that way. So thanks for sharing your story.
Yeah, sure.
So, yeah, you guys can check him out at XJW Analyzer. And thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you found this video helpful, and I'll see you guys next time.